Hi, thank you for joining me. My name is Logan. I'm one of the creators of Siege Warfare. Today we'll be playing through a full game of Siege Warfare featuring some of the new Greco-Persian war cards. I'm beginning the game by selecting my ground and putting it face down in front of me. Each deck of Siege Warfare will have a couple of different options for ground for you to choose from. In this game, I'm going with Susa. I shuffle up my deck and draw my first 7 cards. Now, my opponent went first this game, and he began the game with 1 debt, and he can only play a resource his first turn. He chose currency, which gave him 3 surplus. Now, I'm going second this game, so I begin my game with 1 surplus, I take 7 damage, and I can't attack my first turn. Now, each turn a player may base any number of cards from his hand before he draws. That means you may take cards from your hand and put them on the bottom of your deck. After basing, you may draw up to your opening hand size, 7 cards. You can play resource cards from your hand, but if you don't have any resources, don't worry. You can always play a farm or a currency, as represented with a gold-bordered token card named Resources. I went with a farm this turn, which gives me 1 surplus this turn and an additional surplus each turn till the end of the game. I'm going to begin by playing Recommended Bowman for 2 surplus. You'll notice the cost of a card is located on the gold orb at the top left of the card. I signal to my opponent I've completed my turn, and he's basing some cards before he draws. Looks like he's going with currency again, providing 3 more surplus. That's going to give him a decent advantage over my economy at the beginning of the game. He just flipped up his ground card, which always happens at the beginning of your second turn. He just paid off 1 debt by spending 1 surplus. Debt prevents you from being able to play ground or units during the game, so you always want to pay that off as soon as you can. The ground he chose was Marathon, and he just spent 3 surplus to play Athenian Triremes. He is attacking with that Athenian Triremes, so I use my ability on my Bowman to give him a -2/-2 and force him to discard a card from his hand. So when I take damage from that Trireme, it's going to be 3 damage off the top of my deck. That's going to be the end of his turn. So at the beginning of my turn, I'm going to flip up my ground, remove my counters from the cards that I have, and each ground has a Fortify ability that's going to permit you to restock cards from your discard pile to the bottom of your field. So I'm doing that now. Remember, when you run out of cards, you lose the game. I choose to shuffle my deck, and then I'm going to base some cards before I draw. For my resource this turn, I'm going to go with a farm again, providing me with 2 surplus, 1 for each farm. Now I add a counter to Susa to use his second ability to generate 1 more surplus. I spend that 3 surplus to play Persian horse archers, and I attack with that horse archer to my opponent's field. Remember, whenever you attack, you have to choose if you're attacking a field, battery, or ground. If you can inflict 12 damage to a battery or ground in 1 turn, you neutralize it, removing it from play. Now, my opponent cannot intercept my horse archers because of the Seafarer ability on Athenian Triremes, so he takes 3 damage from the attack, and that concludes my turn. My opponent begins by fortifying, and I want to take this moment to mention that the Greco-Persian war decks are still being playtested, so there may be some differences in abilities and stats from this video to the final printed version of the game. My opponent's going with currency again. That gives him 3 more surplus this turn, and if he does continue with that strategy, I'm going to have a pretty big economic advantage over him by the end of the game, so we'll see how that goes. He spends 2 surplus to play warships, and he spends the remaining 3 surplus to play Athenian hoplites. He's attacking with all 3 to my battery, and he's going to use the hoplite ability to give it Seafarer and a -2/-1 this sequence. All of his units have Seafarer at this point, which means they can only be intercepted by units with Seafarer. So I can't stop very much of that damage, but I can use my archer abilities to lower their offense, hopefully keeping my battery alive. You can see on the top left of the Athenian hoplites, he's labeled as a Land Sea Unit Infantry. So the Persian Horse Archer ability can only select attacking or intercepting land unit. So I'm going to use the Horse Archer's ability on the hoplites. I'm going to use the Achaemenid Bowman ability on the hoplites as well, reducing him to a 1-2 Seafarer unit. The Bowman ability requires me to dismiss 2, and I can remove a card at random from my opponent's hand. 5 damage from the Athenian triremes, 3 from the warships, and 1 from Athenian hoplites is 9. So my battery, he's playing Feat of Strength. Okay, that's going to give the hoplite an additional 3 offense, which is 12 damage to my battery. That's going to neutralize it. Now it says right on the battery, whenever your battery is neutralized, instead of removing it from play, you must neutralize all cards you control of type battery. So that means my Achaemenid Bowman is neutralized, and my Persian Horse Archer is not, because it is of card type Land Unit Cavalry. Now he's done with his turn, so I remove counters from my cards and fortify. Now I want to mention that the red and blue icons at the bottom left of the card is the offense and defense. So the red number is how much damage a unit does when it attacks, and the blue number is how much damage it can receive before it's neutralized. Now I'm going to base and draw my cards. I'm going to use Sousa's ability, giving me 1 surplus, another 2 surplus from the farms I played last turns. And for this turn's resource, I'm going to go with currency, which gives me another 3. I'm going to spend 3 surplus to play the Persian triremes. And then I'm going to spend 2 more to play. Let's go with the Persian Spearman. After I play the Persian Spearman, I'm going to dismiss 2 cards off the top of my field. That allows me to put the Soldier Token card into play, which can't attack this turn. I'm going to attack with Persian Horse Archers, and that's all I'm attacking with this turn. Looks like he's intercepting with the Athenian hoplites. It's a 7/7. I'd like to use that last stand card I have to battle, but I can't because the Horse Archer is attacking and not defending. So instead I'm going to use my mobility to remove the Horse Archers from combat. And I'm done with my turn, so my opponent begins his turn by fortifying and drawing. He's removing his counters. Looks like he went with currency again. He is paying 2 surplus to play a Greek Marines. He is attacking my ground Susa with everything but the Greek Marines, and giving that Athenian hoplites Seafarer and a -2, -1 again this sequence. So as long as I can keep the damage below 12, I'm good. I'm going to intercept his Athenian triremes with my Persian triremes, and then I use the Horse Archer ability to give Athenian hoplites a -2, -2, and I'm going to play that last stand card on Persian triremes by dismissing 3 and giving it a +4/+4 this sequence. I'm going to lose that Persian triremes. At the end of the turn, it'll be neutralized as part of the last stand ability. Okay, he's dismissing 3 cards to play into the fray. That's going to give him a +2/+2 on his triremes and allow him to draw a card. I'm still winning this engagement. Yeah. Okay, he's playing another into the fray. So that means his Athenian trireme is going to have enough defense to survive this engagement. I'm going to lose that trireme. His survives, but my ground Susa is only taking 6 damage, so it survives. Not exactly how I was hoping the engagement would go, but at least I kept my ground. So he's done with his turn. I'm going to begin my turn by removing my counters, and I am going to fortify 4 cards to the bottom of my deck. Then I will base and draw. I have 1 surplus left over from last turn, and I get 2 more surplus from my previous farms. And I just drew Immortals, which is a really good card, but not as useful against seafaring units. So I'm going to use the Immortal's first ability to discard it from my hand and draw another card. And for my resource this turn, I'm going to go with currency again, giving myself 3 more surplus. And I'm going to spend 1 to play Changing Sands. This is a drawing effect, which will allow me to base my whole hand and draw 6 new cards. Xerxes. Earth and water. So I'm going to play Xerxes for 4 surplus. And I think I'm also going to play Earth and Water this turn. It's going to be a nice little combination. Xerxes has a pretty good resource acceleration ability, which allows me to generate additional surplus each turn if I choose to. And the Earth and Water tactic, it's going to allow me to base and draw up to 2 more cards each turn. So I'm going to use that ability to base 2 cards and draw 2 more. Another Earth and Water. Now, I'm not in a great position to attack this turn, so I'm going to skip my attack sequence, go straight to my second deployment, and I'm going to use Xerxes' ability. And he generates 2 surplus by depleting 3 cards, so a depleted card is essentially removed from the game. It cannot be interacted with again. So I selected those 3 cards from my discard pile and put them face down to the left of my discard pile. And I used that immortal ability to discard and draw again. And I'm going to use Susa's ability to generate another soldier token. And then I'm going to pay the last 2 surplus I had to play another Achaemenid Bowman. And that's going to be my turn. So my opponent's fortifying and removing counters. And he's going with currency again. And he is spending 4 surplus to play Leonidas. So we might finally start seeing some land units on his side of the board. Looks like he's attacking with his seafaring units and the Greek Marines. He's making the hoplites a seafarer with a -2/-1 again. And he's giving a +1/+1 with that Greek Marine ability. He's attacking with everything but Leonidas to my field. I just took some raise damage, and I'm gonna have to figure out how best to intercept here. Unfortunately, again, I don't have very many sea units, or any at this point. So I've just used the Achaemenid Bowman ability to give some minuses to the hoplites. Requires me to dismiss 2 to do that. And he is playing Onslaught. That's going to give +1/+1 to up to 3 engaged units, or a +0/+1 to non-engaged units. So he's buffing his Greek Marines a little bit, which is enough to keep them alive. The other bonuses don't really affect much because I'm not engaged with them, so they're not getting damage increase. But yeah, unfortunately that's enough to keep his Greek Marines alive, and then I'm going to end up taking the rest of that damage to my field, which is 10 damage. And amazingly, every unit survived this engagement. And after that, my opponent is done with his turn. So we're removing all the counters that were there for combat sequence, all the markers, and then I'll begin my turn. So I'm going to begin by removing counters for my renew sequence. Then I will fortify 4 cards. It actually benefits me here to keep the Immortals in my discard pile because I can use them from there. So I'm not going to restock them. So I'm going to base 1 card and then draw. So I get 2 surplus from my previous turn's farms, and I am going to use the Earth and Water ability here before I decide what I'm going to do for my resources for this turn. And that also allows me to restock 2, so the Earth and Water ability is you can base up to 1 or 2 cards and draw that many and then restock up to 2. So I'm going to use the Susa ability to generate another resource, spend 1 resource to put in another Earth and Water, and I'm going to use that Earth and Water's ability this turn as well. So you can see how some of the Persian cards are definitely geared towards um, moving through your deck quickly, rapidly getting what you need. Very adaptable in that way. So for my resource this turn, I am going to go with currency again. That's going to give me 3 more surplus. I will spend 3 to play Carrion Warships, and then I'll spend another 2 to play. I'll go with another Augmented Bowman. I want to use that Rain of Fire card, which inflicts damage based on the number of battery units you control, but I think I'll try and play a few more archers and get them out into play before I use that, so I can make it a bit more devastating. So here we go, all in. I'm attacking with everyone to his field. From Persian Spearman and my 2 soldiers, he takes 3 raise damage. That happens when you attack, and I also get to restock 3 cards. So it looks like he's going to intercept my Carrion Warships with both his warships and his Athenian triremes. He is intercepting my Persian Spearman with his Athenian Hoplite, one of my soldiers with his Greek Marines, and he intercepts Xerxes with Leonidas. So I'm going to play Onslaught, giving a +1/+1 to 3 units. I'm going to choose Carrion Warships, Xerxes, and my engaged soldier token. Then I'm going to dismiss 4 and add counters to my Achaemenid Bowman to give his Athenian triremes a -4/-4 this sequence. Oh, there's one thing I forgot. When I attack with the Carrion Warships, his second ability goes off because I control Commander. So I got to draw 1 card and restock 2. So at this point, my Persian Spearman and my soldier will be neutralized from his intercepting units, and I will direct all of my Carrion Warships' offense to his Athenian triremes, neutralizing that. Leonidas and Xerxes both survive, and my Persian horse archers and soldiers are able to damage his field because they weren't intercepted. So that's 3 damage from the horse archers and 2 from the soldiers to his field. And that's the end of my turn. And so he's going to begin his turn by fortifying. And he draws and removes counters. And another turn of currency. He spends 3 of that surplus to play 300 Spartans. 300 Spartans is going to get a +1/+1 from Leonidas because it's a Spartan. That's what he does. And it also has the Protector ability, which is going to allow him to intercept 2 units instead of 1. He is also playing Mullen Labe. It's a tactic that's going to inflict additional damage to my field every time one of my units is neutralized. And he is attacking with everyone. So I'm going to intercept his warships with my Carrion Warships. And I have to decide on his Greek Marines and Leonidas. Well, I know I'll intercept his 300 Spartans with my soldiers, and they will die a horrible death. And I'm gonna intercept his Athenian hoplites with my Persian horse archers, and intercept the Greek Marines with Xerxes. I'll use my horse archer ability to give the Greek Marines a -2/-2, and then I'll use Last Stand on the Persian horse archers, giving them a +4/+4 this sequence. So the Athenian hoplites and the Greek Marines will be neutralized. My soldiers and Persian horse archers will be neutralized. Because I lost 2 units, Molenlabe inflicts 2 damage to me, and Leonidas was not intercepted, so I take 7 damage to my field from his offense. And he's done with his turn, so I'm going to fortify. Anytime you fortify, you can select exactly which cards you want to restock. Through most of this playthrough, I haven't been too picky about what I fortify, but I'm almost dead now, so I want to make sure whatever is in my deck is going to help me win the game. So I'm purposefully selecting exactly which 4 cards I'm going to restock from my discard pile onto the bottom of my field, and then I shuffle my deck. I'm going to remove counters for the renew sequence, and now I base and then draw. I'm going to use the Earth and Water ability. I'll use the Earth and Water ability twice, since I can, because I have 2 of them. And now for my resources, I get 2 surplus from the previous farms, and I'm going to use Susa to generate a 3rd surplus, and then I select currency this turn to give me 3 more, a total of 6 surplus. So that's been my play for quite a few of the last turns, so probably pretty familiar at this point. So I spend 3 to play Persian archers, and another 2 surplus to play another Achaemenid bowman. I'm going to attack with Xerxes and Carian warships to his field. He doesn't like the look of my archer lineup, so he's going to let that damage go through. That's 5 from Xerxes and 5 from Carian warships. And now I'm going to spend that last surplus there to play Rain of Fire. To calculate the number of damage inflicted here, I just need to add the base cost, that gold orb on the top left, for my 4 battery units. So that would be 2, 2, 2, and 3, which is 9 damage. And I'm done with my turn at that point, so he is fortifying. Basing, and then drawing cards. Removing counters. And he's going with currency again. So this game was a really good illustration of how farms versus currency can play out. He had a pretty good advantage over me the first 3 turns by focusing on the currency, but I held out, and I have a pretty good economic advantage over him at the end here because of those 2 farms I committed to early. I think if he focused on attacking my field instead of my battery and my ground early on, he probably could have had me on the ropes. But I feel like if I can survive this turn, I've probably got him. So he did play Danakius and warships with an all-in attack. I'm intercepting warships with Carian warships, and I'll intercept Leonidas with Xerxes. I'm going to add some counters to my archers, dismiss 6, force my opponent to discard 3 cards, and I'm going to put some debuffs on his army. Let's go with a -5 to Leonidas, a -1 to 300 Spartans, and a -2 to warships. So as it stands with that, warships will be neutralized, and I am going to take 16 damage. Ouch. Danekius is kind of scary. So that's going to put me down to 4 cards left in my deck. So you can see it was a pretty darn close game, even with me having an economic advantage over him for the latter part of this game. It's my turn now. I'm going to remove counters. Restock. And then I will base and draw. I'm not going to draw up to a full hand because of how few cards I have left, just in case something goes wrong here. But I got 2 surplus from my previous farms. I'm going to use the Earth and Water ability, allowing me to base and draw, and then restock. And I'm going to go with currency again. Why not? I'm going to use Seuss's ability to give me 1 more surplus, and I'm going to play 2 Persian heavy cavalry. And I'll attack with everything. That will be 3 raised damage from my to my opponent. Carrion Warship's other ability is triggered because I have a commander, so I restock 2 and draw 1. And he doesn't have anything to intercept my Seafarer unit, so that's going to go through. I want to say Leonidas should have died last turn. I think he was supposed to be removed. But in any case, the Carrion Warship's damage is going to go through. He's using Marathon's ability to give some minuses, weakening my units. But Carrion Warships is going to do 5 damage to his field for the win. So thanks for watching. And remember, you can pre-order this card game now on Kickstarter. And thank you for your support. We'll see you next time. Hey, if you'd like to see more about Siege Warfare, click on the green Kickstarter button on the bottom right of the screen to see our Kickstarter page. Or you can click on the Siege Warfare icon dead center, check out our website. It has additional videos, card listings, and our previous set, The American Civil War. Thanks!